what are you expecting? It's a space opera. It's going to have action scenes. Like, I don't know. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I am doing a single book review of Chilling Effect, a space opera sci-fi novel by Valerie Valdez. It came out in 2019, and I listened to this book on audiobook via Audible. I thought the narrator did a really good job, but her voice just felt a little bit too young for me. Like, she sounded like she was closer to her early 20s than her mid 30s, but it's possible that I'm just absolutely ridiculous, so don't consider that, maybe. I just wanted to say that. I don't know why, for some reason that didn't bug me. I just was like, she sounds so much younger than me, but maybe because I'm an old hag and I have a gravelly voice. Anyway, Chilling Effect, the audiobook aside, is a light and exciting space opera with really fun characters, interesting missions, and cool aliens. It's a real treat. So what's it about? This is the blurb. Captain Eva Innocente and the crew of La Sirena Negra cruise the galaxy delivering small cargo for even smaller profits. When her sister Mari is captured by the Fridge, a shadowy syndicate that holds people hostage in cryostasis, Eva must undergo a series of unpleasant, dangerous missions to pay the ransom. But Eva may lose her mind before she can raise the money. The ship's hold is full of psychic cats, an amorous fish-faced emperor wants her dead after she rejects his advances, and her sweet engineer is giving her a pesky case of feelings. The worse things get, the more she lies, raising suspicions and testing her loyalty to her found family. Sounds fun, right? It is fun. I really, really enjoyed this book. Okay, I'm just going to say a couple things at the start. It's a little scattered in terms of plotline and world building. You know, despite the places they visit, I didn't really get a huge picture of kind of like how the universe functioned. So that was a little light, but it totally worked for me though. Like, I read a lot of sci-fi and space opera, and this novel was a break from the usual setup that gives you so much kind of backstory and you have to feel like you're part of the world. It was nice to kind of just dive into something that didn't force you to kind of learn about everything. It takes a more episodic approach as well in terms of chapters, with an already formed crew and no kind of save the world stakes. Which, you know, due to the length of the story, it's quite long. It made it feel like a show rather than the book, and that was actually really nice. I really liked that, especially as an audiobook. I'm not sure how I would have felt about that in a book form, but I definitely really liked that in audiobook. So the characters are a lot of fun, as I said, though the main character, Ava, really shines. You know, she's an interesting lead because while she's tough, resilient, and comfortable flying by the seat of her pants, she's also very secretive and a bit selfish, and she's conflicted. Her main arc in the story is dealing with her self-fulfilling prophecy of becoming a swindler and a liar like her father. So Ava hates these characteristics in her dad, but when she finds herself involved in similar manipulations, she tries to convince herself it's for good reasons while subsequently regretting these choices later. So she does it to herself, and it's frustrating to watch. At the same time as it's not too frustrating. You're not like cringing the whole time. You're not like, oh no, don't do that. But it's more like a, oh, I understand why she did that, but maybe she should have thought it through a bit. So she feels like a real person, and I really liked following her story. I also like that she was my age, like in her 30s, and experienced at her job, not some rookie learning the ropes, which we tend to get a lot of in space opera. Like, you always get like the young person fresh off the planet, or the young person fresh out of military training or whatever, and it's their first mission, this kind of thing. But this book doesn't do that. I also love the diversity in the novel. Ava drops Spanish words and phrases throughout the text that the reader is left to infer, you know, the meaning of by context. True, I mean, I know that come mierdas meant dumbass, or more literally shit eater, from Spanish class. I took Spanish in high school. Even though I'm Canadian, in my high school we were allowed to take Spanish or French, and so I dropped French in grade 10 and took Spanish in 11 and 12. And I think I took 1 year at university. I don't remember. Anyway, because of that, I recognized other words too, and I didn't mind not knowing the exact meaning of a lot of the text. I felt like it gave it kind of an authenticity to her character. Ava is a little clueless at times when it comes to people's emotions, but given that this happens in multiple instances, it felt more like a character flaw tied to like her selfishness than a bad attempt at interpersonal tension. I think if it had just been in the one instance, it would have felt like they were trying to create tension for no reason or like out of nothing. But because she does this a lot, not really understanding other people's feelings, it kind of worked and made sense. The other characters are a lot of fun too, though they're way less complex than Ava because we don't kind of get to follow them too much. There's Vakar, he's an alien Aquinian or something. He reminded me a lot, of course, of Gareth Vakarian from Mass Effect, whom I talk about all the time, because he was as much of a dork and a sweetheart as Garrus is, and as well as being a badass, which Garrus also is. He wasn't obviously a copy of him, being much more of a follower, a bit more submissive, but I do like when love interests are nice guys and not alpha jerks. It's a nice change. The other characters, Pink, Min, and Leroy, like in the crew, were likable too. There aren't a lot of bad guys in the story. The bad guys are kind of like by chapter by chapter. There's a few that kind of show up again and again, but we don't really have like an antagonist. The real antagonist is this mysterious organization called the Fridge, and we don't really get to see a lot of them because they're a mysterious organization. That worked for me though. It was kind of nice not to have, a Darth Vader Luke battle at the end kind of thing. The action scenes, which there are plenty of, are a lot of fun. Some of them had a lot of tension, some of them didn't, but they didn't get repetitive, and that was what mattered most to me. And there were always kind of interesting elements that came out of nowhere, or like little jokes, little kind of funny things that happened. There's also a lot of kind of allusions to other sci-fi movies and books, which was really fun because they were never like in your face about it. It was more subtle. So, like, for example, at one point they go to a space opera, and I was like, yeah, obviously I know what she's referencing here, but people that haven't seen The Fifth Element wouldn't pick up on it, but that doesn't matter. That was a really kind of fun reference to me. The alien cultures and worlds, as I said, could have used a bit more depth, but there were so many of them, it would have made for a lot of info dumping, and so I'm glad that we just kind of got to make it up on our own. And because the story follows Ava, who isn't the type to do any research whatsoever on anything, we only get what she knows, which is very little. She basically does everything by the seat of her pants. She plays everything as it lies, and I thought that was really interesting and really fun. And it was also kind of fun to use my imagination to fill in the gaps in some instances too, because I love alien cultures, and I don't mind making up making it up on my own a bit. The book is also very funny. There are some absurd situations. There's a dinosaur mission that I laughed so hard, and some funny one-liners that lighten the story and made me smile. There's a few repetitive jokes here and there, but nothing that made me roll my eyes or anything like that. The whole side plot with this guy named Glorious was very silly, but also covertly poignant. Like, a lot of the novel, despite being like this very light space opera, was a bit deeper than it seemed on surface value. This book is not just like a dumb action. It has some depth to it. The book, honestly, is just a breath of fresh air, and it was so much fun. I cared about the characters. I found excuses to listen to the audiobook, which I usually don't do, and I already started book 2. So I recommend it to anyone who likes space opera, feisty female captains, funny alien cultures, and interesting action scenes. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it that much, and it reminds me a little bit of The Fifth Element, Mass Effect, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Firefly, that kind of thing. It's definitely not a serious book, so don't go into it expecting it to be like, I don't know, The Stars Are Legion, or even The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It's totally different than those things. So yeah, don't expect that. Don't expect any Cameron Hurley around here. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you check out Chilling Effect because it really is a lot of fun. If you have seen it, let me know in the comments, and yeah, thanks.